What's up, YouTube? This is Kyle, aka Fish, part of Team Samurai here. Also part of the little newly formed Team Voltic Penguin here. It's not really a team, it's a squad, as my buddy says. It's just me and him. But anyways, it doesn't matter. That's not a big deal. Here to kind of do a little discussion slash deck update on Morphing Jar OTK. What I mean by discussion slash deck list is I want to discuss. If you don't know, at YCS Charlotte in March, I believe. I'm sorry. In March, I believe, they Morphin Jar OTK topped at that tournament, so that was that made Morphin Jar OTK like kind of a big deal now. Someone told me he cheated. I'm not gonna go into that, but basically, what I want to discuss is the build that I made and his build, and kind of like discuss what I would run, what I wouldn't run, and how he ran it. In my opinion about him though, and about that deck you could give anybody that deck, like a regular duelist, and that guy could. If you don't know, it's Paul Cooper is the guy who topped. You can make he can give that he can give the exact deck inside deck to anyone basically, who like is just an average duel like maybe me or like you or whoever is watching this video, and he could give that deck to him and tell him exactly how to run it, and they wouldn't be able to run it the exact same way he ran it, and as good. Because honestly, he's just an amazing duelist. He's just good. Like, some people are good at basketball, and some people are like amazing at basketball. Like, he's just amazing at playing. He's really smart and knows when to do what and what to tech out and when to do what. So, you know, then in my opinion, that's why he did so well. Is just because he's a good duelist. Like, he just knows what he's doing. Um, but anyway, here's the discussion slash my build of the deck. I got one Morphing Jar. Obviously, you gotta run that. Morphing Jar's effect is flipped. You're both uniform discard your hand, draw 5 cards. So it's a really good card for any deck, truthfully, but mainly for this deck. This deck is built around him. You got one Sagan for search. And you got Trip Deep Divers for search. Deep Divers effect is when it's stored at battle at the end of the battle phase, you can take a monster and place it on top of your deck. So with Thunder Kings being, huge now and they're at 3, it gets around Thunder Kings, which is an amazing tech for especially this deck. You got the triple AD Chargers, really good in this deck. Play to change the battle position of a monster. So with the Morphing Jar, when it's face down, once its battle changes, it gets flipped face up. So that's a really good card. It works. It's like a tie basically. I got double Swift Scarecrow. He ran 3. I'm gonna probably consider running 3. Because 2 is hard to draw into. Like first turn, 3 is really easy to draw into first turn. Like I said, he teched that card and he did really good with it. It ended up saving his life a lot. Like most of the time, he saved his butt. So if you read his vlog, it just saves him like probably 5 or 6 of the duels. That card saved him from losing. So that's really good. I might run 3. I might end up taking him out. I don't know. I haven't really tested with it yet. They're just kind of in there right now. And then you got double Needleworm. Like I said, this is my build. He didn't have Needleworm or Shallow Graves in his deck, so he just ran Morphing Jar and basically card destruction with his other, milling strategies in case, if he ran into an opponent's deck that was a little bit bigger, he just could card destruction a couple extra times, basically, is what he would do. And on the magic cards, you got 3 Book of Eclipses. Good card, really good card for this deck. Flips everything face down, so it's basically Book of Moon. You got 3 Book of Tayus. Flip 1 monster face up, so obviously staple in this deck, and a Book of Moon. Limited to 1, probably will be limited to 1 forever, probably, honestly. With the new priority change, if you don't know, basically the new priority change says that you don't get priority. That's all that is. That priority is going away. So with Book of Moon, that if that was at 3, it'd be super broken in the new format. Onto the Magics, you got 3 Feather of the Phoenixes. He ran 3, so it's not because he's running 3. I'm running 3. I ran 3 forever, but 3 Feather of the Phoenixes is really good in this deck. Allows you to reuse your stuff. You discard 1 card from your hand to take a card from your graveyard and place it on top of your deck. So it's really good. It works really well in this deck. Some extra draw power. You got 3 Upstarts. Really good in this deck. Really good in this deck. and he ran what was it? I always forget the card's name. He ran Dark World Dealings in his deck. I'm running 3 Into the Voids. Um, Kind of the same effect. I don't like Into the or Dark World Dealings only because it's a basically a 2-for-1, which really sucks. This is basically a 1-for-1. Um, you have for Dark Worlds you draw one and you discard one, so you're basically discarding your Dark World and the discard card for a 1. This one you can draw a card if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, so that tech kind of hinders the deck a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. Usually you get that off most of the time. It's not like you have it in your hand and like, oh, I can't play it. Most of the time it's you do play it, so it's not that big of a deal. Um, Double Magical Stone is the other card. Really good card for this deck. Runs well. Get stuff in the graveyard if you needed to. Redo stuff. Works well. Got Double Mallet. He ran 3 mallets. I like 2. In my opinion, mallet's kind of a hindrance to this deck almost. When you get dead hands, yes, it's really good, and it gets rid of that dead hand and gives you another hand. But I just don't see the need for 3. I've never seen the need for 3. It doesn't make any sense to me. The other cards he ran in his deck that I don't run in this deck, he had 3 Pod Dualities, which obviously I'm not gonna have 3 Pod Dualities. They're expensive, they're hard to get. It's just not happening. Um, if anything, I would want 1 Pod Duality in this deck. I feel 3 is also kind of a hindrance because you can only use one once per turn, or once per turn you can use one. So that kind of stops the deck. Um, Not only that, I would have to take out basically the Shallow Graves, and I'd have to take out the Needleworms because that would stop that from working. So, you know, I'd like to have just 1. Like I said, honestly, just 1 would be great for the deck. But 3, I just don't see being all that amazing truthfully. But I could see how 3 would be really good. So, anyways, that's kind of my thing. Like I said, I also ran Gold Sark. I'm thinking about running Gold Sark in this deck. I like the way he teched Gold Sark in his deck. He would usually, um, what he usually did was he would Gold Sark like Giant Trunade, which is really smart, obviously, to do in this format because you got the Necro Valleys and you got all this sorts of shenanigans for back rows, and Trunade's gonna force your opponent to get rid of stuff. Anyways, that's gonna stop Morphing Jar for the most part. So I don't know if I'm gonna run those Sarks. I have them. It's not that they're not available to me. I do have them. I just don't know if I want to tech them. So I'll probably do some test play with it. But anyway, on to the rest of the deck. You got the double Shallow Graves, like I kind of talked about just a couple seconds ago. Um, that's basically from Needleworm. Card Destruction, which is that's great. It's great in this deck, especially when you only discard 1 or 0 and your opponent discards 5. A lot of people like running Surreal Spell in this deck. Because I'm trying to make my deck a little bit more like Paul's deck. He didn't run Surreal Spell, and I kind of know why, and that's because he didn't want to use up Trunade to set Surreal Spell, wait for card destruction, or wait for set card destruction. Well, wait for certain things to come by, and then Trunade it to get the stuff back to your hand to be able to use it. Which is smart to do because you want to Trunade your opponent's back to this in case there's stuff there, and then go ahead and OTK and not have to worry about that stuff. But yeah, I can see why he wouldn't run Surreal Spell, and that's kind of why I'm not running it either, because I'm trying to make Trunade one of the more main cards, thus the Gold Sark. Anyway, you got the Pot of Benevolence. It's kind of like my Pot of Duality almost, except it has its effects not even close to the same. But it allows you to take 2 cards that are in your graveyard and throw it back into your deck. So, 2 more. You can throw in 2 Eclipses, a Book and an Eclipse, a Book and a Tayu. Whatever you want. So I like that card a lot in this deck. I've been thinking about taking it out, but it works really well. It lets you reuse your stuff. It kind of gives you back the 6 Book of Moons that you had previously. It can give you 7 Tayus and 5 Eclipses or whatever you want. So it's kind of what that is. One Hand Destruction, just kind of a tech card right now. Basically a filler at this point. But it works well in the deck. You discard 2 cards from your hand to draw 2 cards. So I know I talked about a negative 1 with the Dark World Dealings. That's why there's only 1 in this deck, because it is a -1. It's 3 for 2. But with the 3 for 2, it allows you to get rid of Needleworm and 80 Charger, or whatever you want to get rid of. Like I talked about earlier, you got Giant Trunade, kind of like the main get rid of back row card in the deck that you actually run. And there's 2 cards in my deck that he did not run, which I believe is a mistake, and I don't know why he wouldn't do that. One card was Barrel from Different Dimension. I can understand why he didn't run this because a lot of people like to set this and then trunate it, like wait for a while and trunate it when they have 3 80 charges in the graveyard or in the Roof and Play pile. I think you should just run this card anyway, even if you're using trunate up right away. Um, you know, 80 charger all the time basically, and then even if you only have one in the graveyard and you draw into it and you can't get put back in the deck, just use it. Um, it gives you a plus 180 charger basically, so that's really good in my opinion, and for this deck. Why he didn't run it, I don't know. Maybe he didn't have one. I doubt they didn't have one. If you have 3 Dark World dealings, I'm pretty sure, and he got them at YCS. I'm pretty sure you can do it. Um, Otherwise, whatever. And the other card was a Foolish Burial. I absolutely have no idea why he didn't run Foolish Burial. It's an amazing card for this deck. He might have kind of figured it's a dead draw and it's a deck thinner that's not needed because he does go through the deck really quickly with his Dark Worlds and his upstarts. Um, and his Magical Mallets. But I don't know. I have no clue why he didn't run that. It's up in the air. If you have an idea, comment and let me know why. But that's just kind of just like I don't know why he didn't run that. So here is the side deck that I have right now. I'm gonna update the side deck eventually. Um, got 3 Drag Down to the Graves, really good card. Side those in for the Into the Voids. Basically, you can discard. You and your opponent look at each other's hand. You both take one card you want to discard, and then you draw one card. So, yeah, pretty good. That's basically for Effect Veiler. 3 Imperial Iron Walls for DD Crow. I love this card in this deck. It runs really good. That stops DD Crow cold basically, so it's really nice. Double Spell Shining Arrow. I will take these out eventually, but for now they're in here. They're not bad cards. They work all right. Double Prohibition. Definitely gonna take a third one eventually and put it in here. Prohibition is really good. That stops the Vec failure like cold because you can't use cards that work in your hand even with Prohibition, so it's really nice. 1 MST and 2 Twisters. He ran 2 MSTs and a Twister, so kind of the same thing. I don't know where my other MST's at. I would run that, but yeah, I don't know. I have no idea where it went. And double Lava Golem is the last 2 side cards. Really, really, really good against 6 Sams. When you draw in the Lava Golem, it gets rid of their 6 Sam cards, and they can't use their effect anymore. So they're always filling up their field. They get 5 cards on the field in 1 turn, so you're gonna be able to use Lava Golem like no other. So that's the deck. I hope you enjoy it. Comment, rate, subscribe, whatever. Let me know what you think.